just now done is charge the air compressor for the nail gun so that he can secure the feet onto the bottom of the frame. And we're going to stick that on before finishing the frame, and then put the rest of the frame together, make sure we fit it into the space to make sure that we've got the measurements right, that we don't have to make any alterations between now and then. Alright, so we're going to be nailing these suckers on, and he's using the other piece of framework as the guide because, as you know, a 2x4 or a 2x whatever is actually 1.5 inches. So he's using a brad nailer now to secure the feet securely onto the base. And there we have it.
Just toenail them, secure them.
He's toenailing in to make sure that they're secure because the brads on just one side really aren't going to be enough. And even though these aren't load bearing, it's always good to make sure that you've got a tight fit when you're doing any kind of woodworking. Will you be doing both sides for these?
Mm-hmm.
As we found out during our termite troubles, having a compressor is really handy for doing all kinds of projects. Using this brad nailer for this is going to be really handy. Doing this kind of work by hand with a hammer would just be really tedious and not nearly neat. Be kind of sloppy to do, and it's just difficult. Okay, so while James is busy cutting the frame outside, I decided to go ahead and come in. I have a template for one of the feet right here, and as you can see, it's the exact same dimensions on the bottom of the feet. So what I'm going to be doing is we have this batting here that came with our furniture, and it's like a heavy canvas type cotton, almost like a felt. And what we're going to be doing, without Sebastian's help, is I'm going to be cutting here pieces that we're going to secure with double-sided tape to go on the bottom of the feet so they don't damage the new laminate flooring. And it's going to provide a little bit of protection. Even though these pieces aren't going to be moving, we just want to make sure that in the event we want to take this shelf out, or the next people who own the home want to take it out, that there's no damage to the floor underneath, because repairing that kind of laminate floor is not fun. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is take a nice pair of shears, and I'm going to use those to cut it because it's going to make the job a lot easier and a lot more neat. So we'll cut this batting here, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut it in half. Alright, and now just to make sure we got it right, and it looks like it's going to cover it just fine. So we have our two pieces, and now I just have to do 1.5 more, and we'll be done. Okay, so we've got our last piece. No big deal here. This is probably one of the easiest parts of the project. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and then we're going to go outside, and James has cut the rest of the frame. So all that lacks to be done with the frame now before we fit it and make sure we've gotten our measurements right is to nail it together with the nail gun outside. And we'll do that and fit it and see if we got our measurements right. Alright, so now we're going to nail together the framework with the nail gun. These are heavy duty nails you can use for roofing and things like that, so we want to make sure it's real secure.
Framing nails.
Boom.
Just check to make sure it's still square.
Checking to make sure it's still square. We don't want a tilted Tower of Pisa shelf.
And one to grow on.
Never hurts to over nail.
Until it does.
Until it does. Until you split your wood or something.
It helps if you put nails in the nail gun.
It does help, but at least now we know exactly where to nail because there are marks in the wood. Except there are not anymore.
Now, for the real nailing. There. Now I put the other end on. Left and repeat.
One of the nice features of a nail gun like this, which some people probably know, some people may not know, is it's got 2 safety mechanisms on it, so you can't actually fire the gun unless the head is pressed against the board, and then you pull the trigger, or you can have the trigger held and press it into the board, but you can't just point it at somebody and actually just shoot the gun, which is nice.
Support the. Okay.
Now this part should be a piece of cake. Provided that you get all the sawdust off of the end of the piece first. And now the frame is completely nailed together. And we're going to go inside the house and make sure that our measurements were correct by fitting in the space it's going to go into. And that should give us a good indicator if we're good to go.
Looks like it's gonna be a perfect fit.
Yeah, it's fitting pretty tightly. No real gaps.
There it goes. Perfect. There.
Yeah, that looks flush.
Perfect.